Good morning, y'all. I'm Tracy. Welcome back to Just Dig It Farms and welcome to my kitchen. This morning I'm working on straining off my herbal infused oils. I've had these infusing since this summer. It's herbs that I harvested this summer, dried them, and started infusing them in some awesome sweet almond oil, which is really good for your skin. Some of these have been infusing for 8 weeks and some of them around 10 or 11 weeks. So they're good and infused, and today I'm going to strain them off and separate the herbs from the oil and end up with a beautiful herbal infused sweet almond oil here that I can then turn into a wonderful salve. I'm very grateful for the harvest that we had from the potager garden this year. We were able to harvest a lot of food and put it up, as well as a lot of wonderful herbs that I put up in different ways. Some of which I've dried, some I've got infusing in oils, some I've created tinctures, some I've made Oxymels with, and today they're pretty much all ready, even the tinctures and the Oxymels, to be strained off and separated. We're going to start with these herb infused oils. So this is one that I've already strained off. This is sweet almond oil, yarrow, comfrey, calendula, rose, and lavender, all of which was from our garden. Now this one has not been strained yet, and it is calendula, yarrow, and comfrey. This one is calendula, lavender, and sweet almond oil. This one is calendula infused in olive oil, and it's been infusing since May 30th. So this is going on about 24 weeks, and it's fine. It's fine for them to infuse a long time. It's really good. It just makes it where that oil really infuses, those herbs really infuse into that oil, and you have a really great oil. So I like to at least do it 6 to 8 weeks, but if you go a little bit longer than that, it's perfectly fine. I had initially done these separately with lavender and calendula because I was going to just use this to make a diaper salve for my grandbabies, but I'm actually going to combine all of this together because all of these ingredients would be safe for babies on their skin topically, and I'm just going to make up one big batch of oil that has all of these wonderful herbs in them that are really good for your skin. So we're going to end up with a big batch of sweet almond oil infused in yarrow, comfrey, calendula, rose, and lavender. And that's going to be awesome to make up all different kinds of salves and creams. This one is an experiment that I'm trying. Look at that beautiful red color. It is sweet almond oil with arnica flowers, St. John's wort, comfrey root, and cayenne peppers that we grew from the garden. And this one I'm hoping is going to be an awesome healing salve for joints, muscle aches and pains, arthritis. I'm hoping it's going to end up being comparative to like a Tiger Balm or like a good muscle rub. So I'm excited to strain this one off and make a salve out of this for a good muscle rub and see how well it works. Okay, let's get started. My hands are just all oily now from touching these jars. Awesome. It feels so good on your skin. This gardener salve that I'm making is not only good for your hands, it's good for elbows, it's good for your whole body, it's good for cracked feet, it's good for any kind of scratches or sores or dry skin. It's going to be good for any kind of skin issues that you have. I've got a measure cup that has a pour spout. Got a strainer that fits right over my measure cup. I've got a cheesecloth that I'm going to put over the strainer. And then I just take my herb infusion here. This one is the sweet almond oil with lavender and calendula. And I'm just going to pour it over my cheesecloth. Now we're just gonna gather it up and squeeze all that oil out of there. We want to get as much of this as we can. Once I feel like I've got it pressed out pretty good, then I take my mason jar full of my finished oil here, and I put another strainer over that and just pour this into my jar. Actually, what I'm gonna do is, these are half-gallon sizes and this is a gallon, and I wanna mix these two oils together. So this one was the Yarrow Comfrey Calendula Rose and Lavender, and this one was just Yarrow Calendula and Comfrey. So I wanna just mix them all together. The only difference was this one has some rose and lavender in it. They're all great for skin. So I wanna create just this one oil that I'm gonna be able to make many different skin salves and creams and products out of. I'm gonna put my filter over this just to make sure it's all filtered good. Even though this takes time and patience, it's very, very simple to do. So it just takes a lot of time. I grew the herbs. A lot of these I started from seed back in January. Then I harvested them. Then we had to dry the herbs, because you have to have dried herbs when you're making herb-infused oils. If you just use fresh herbs, the herbs will go bad, go rancid in the oil, and they won't be any good. So you need to use dried herbs. And then we made this herbal oil infusion. We had to let it sit for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Some of these have been sitting a lot longer than that of mine. And I went in and I shook it every day. And now today, finally, we are straining it off, and we have this beautiful and smells so good herbal oil infusion. And now we're gonna take this and turn it into a healing salve. So we started these herbs all the way back in January. This is now the end of November, and we'll probably be into December when I start making the salves. So it's taken almost a year to get from seed to salve. But now, if you don't want to grow your own herbs, you don't have a big enough space to grow your herbs, you can always order some dried herbs, herbal products from Mountain Rose Herbs, Bulk Apothecary, Frontier Co-op. Those are 3 great sources that grow organically and that are sustainably sourced herbs that you can order from. So if you don't want to do this from seed to finished product, then you can order your herbs dried already. So there we go. We have this beautiful, almost gallon, about 3/4 of a gallon of herb infused oil. I'm just gonna put a lid on this. I'm gonna label it. I'm gonna put it up in my pantry. And then in the next week or so, we're gonna pull it out and we're gonna make some salves together. Now we're going to strain off our pain away oil here. We've got our measure cup, our strainer, and cheesecloth. And this is gonna be fun to just strain this over this same cheesecloth, because it certainly is not gonna hurt to have a little bit of calendula, lavender, rose, yarrow in this oil as well, because it's all good for your skin. So it's not gonna hurt to reuse this. So this is my pain away oil that I've had infusing here. We got to come up with a really fun name for it. But this is sweet almond oil, cayenne peppers from our garden, arnica flowers, St. John's wort, comfrey root. And those are all herbs and ingredients that is really good for arthritis, inflammation, muscle, joint pain, and I'm excited to give this a try and see if this works really good for pain and muscle aches. So we're just going to strain this off. That cayenne pepper should add that heat like a Bengay or something like that would. I didn't make a big batch of this because this, like I said, this is just an experiment, so I wanted to try it first. And I've got plenty of the herbs and plenty cayenne peppers from the garden this year in my pantry there. So if this turns out to be really good, I'm gonna get another batch of oil going and infusing. Now we're just gonna pour it up into this jar. That is so pretty, such a pretty color. When I label my jars, I put the oil. This one was almond oil. I put the herbs. I put today's date, and I also put the date when the infusion was started. That way when I want to go back and look at it, I can remember how long exactly I let that oil infuse. Got all of my tools clean and sterilized, and now I'm ready to strain off my Oxymels. So I have two here today. I have fire cider, which is probably the most famous Oxymel there is, and I have one that has apple cider vinegar, honey, lemon balm, lemon verbena, oregano, rosemary, and garlic, and I plan to use this one as a salad dressing. This one is a medicine to fight off colds and flus this winter. An Oxymel is an infusion of honey and vinegar and whatever herb or nutrient-dense food you want to use. This fire cider, I did a recipe on this. I did a whole video on creating this fire cider. I also have my recipe on our website, JUSTDIGITfarms.com, if you want to go check it out and follow my recipe. There's so many different ways to make fire cider. Rosemary Glasstar is kind of the one that coined the fire cider. She is an awesome herbalist. She has a great cookbook, fire cider cookbook, recipe cookbook out there that you can get with all different kinds of recipes in it. But if you want to use my fire cider recipe, you can go to JUSTDIGITfarms.com and it'll be there. We're going to start with our lemon rosemary Oxymel here. And this one smells so delicious. I can't wait to turn this into a yummy, yummy salad dressing. So this is done, this was done on October the 14th. So we're right at 6 weeks, and I like to let the Oxymels infuse 4 to 6 weeks. Everything recommends 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks. I like to go 6 weeks if I can, and I did with this one. All right, I'm just gonna strain this right over my strainer into my measure cup here. That smells delicious, y'all. Let's see. Well, all my wooden spoons are dirty except this one with the hole in it, but it'll work. It'll work just fine. And I'm just gonna press my herbs. Now you could have used cheesecloth like we did the oils, but I'm just gonna do this and just press all of these herbs. Try to get all that yummy goodness out of there. I didn't do very much of this one either. because again, this is something new I'm trying, and I didn't want to make a whole giant batch and it'd be terrible. So anytime I'm trying something new, I like to do it in small batches, and that way you can kind of get a better feel for what you need to add more of or what you need to add less of. And you can kind of tweak it and get it more perfected if it's a smaller batch versus a big batch of it. I've got a clean, sterilized mason jar here, and I'm just going to put my smaller strainer over it and strain it out one more time. Let's give this a little taste. Oh my gosh, y'all, that is delicious. That is so good. Man, y'all, that is gonna be so good on a salad. I'm thinking like a spinach, chopped up kale, maybe some chives, maybe some strawberries and some feta cheese. Woo, that is good. I'm gonna have to get another batch of that one going. Okay, this one has, so this has apple cider vinegar, honey. I put, what else was in here? Apple cider vinegar. We gotta make sure we get this one exactly right. Lemon balm and lemon verbena. Lemon balm and verbena. Oregano, rosemary, and garlic. You can refrigerate this if you want to, and it'll last a little bit longer, or you can just keep it in a cool, dark pantry, and it should last 4 to 6 weeks or so. It's gonna be so good on a salad. Recipe for this lemon rosemary oxymel is also on our website, JUSTDIGITfarms.com. Okay, I cleaned up my tools again. Got my bowl, my strainer, and my fire cider. Woo! That is strong. Very strong. The recipe is on our website, JUSTDIGITfarms.com. And you don't have to follow that recipe. The beauty of fire cider is you can just use whatever you have access to. I think the main ingredients would be your honey, of course, apple cider vinegar. That's what makes it an oxymel. And onions and garlic, and horseradish is a staple ingredient in fire cider. I did not use horseradish because I have a thyroid issue. I have Graves' disease, and I'm on thyroid medication. And one of our sweet viewers messaged me and told me that horseradish, she had heard that horseradish was not good for somebody that had thyroid problems or was on thyroid medication. And I did research that and look it up, and everything that I read and found did say that. So I decided not to use horseradish in my fire cider recipe until I could, get more research on that. That is one very important thing whenever you're working with herbs, to always do your own research and make sure that there's no contraindications with any kind of medication that you're taking or any kind of illnesses or situations that you may have, because different herbs can, have contraindications with different pharmaceutical medicines. So you do want to do your own research and for your own situation. Everybody's got different situations, different health issues, different medicines you're on. So you want to make sure you do your own research. So I'm going to strain it again. let's taste this one now. Whoa. Woo! I can already feel my sinuses clearing up. This stuff. Whew, that's good. Phew. Yeah. It's medicine, y'all. Medicine don't always taste real good. You could pour this up into like an amber colored jar that had a dropper on it and take this by the dropper full. I'm just gonna leave it in my mason jar and put it in a dark pantry, and we'll take this by the teaspoon or tablespoon. So the recommended dosage for adults is to take a teaspoon every day during cold and flu season as a preventative to keep from getting colds and flus. If you feel like you're getting sick at the very onset of feeling bad, then start taking 3 to 4 tablespoons a day. So take it throughout the day, 3 to 4 times a tablespoon to help fight something if you're getting it. So we're going to be taking a teaspoon of this every day during the winter time for cold and flu. So I definitely need to get us another batch going because this isn't going to be near enough. Well, we got a few things accomplished this morning. We got our herb-infused oils strained off, and we have some beautiful herbal oils right here. We have about 3/4 of a gallon of almond oil that is infused with calendula, comfrey, lavender, yarrow, and rose, ready to make a salve with. We have olive oil infused with calendula. And we have almond oil infused with cayenne, St. John's wort, arnica flowers, comfrey root. And we got our Oxymels strained off. So we've got a lemon balm, verbena, oregano, garlic, rosemary Oxymel here. It's going to be good for salad dressing. And we've got our fire cider here to help us fight colds and flus. I still have a pantry that is full of different tinctures that have been infusing in vodka for a long time now, and they're ready to be strained off. But that's gonna have to wait for another day because the sun is shining. It's been a rainy, gloomy morning all morning. The sun is shining and the garden is calling me.
Tastes like a vinaigrette.
Look at this rose, y'all. It's so beautiful. I just planted this here this spring. This is Souvenir de la Malmaison. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. So I moved all of the citrus, the olives, and the bay leaf trees all to my greenhouse, and it actually looks really beautiful in here right now. So I started some onion seeds back in September, and I was late getting them started. It was more towards the very end of September before I got them going, and they're kind of struggling. I didn't have a very good germination rate, but they were old seeds, so I'm really not surprised by that. I knew that this was going to be questionable of how many germinated and how many I was actually able to grow and how big they would actually get by the time I want to plant, which is November. So I ordered some from House Tools. They have onion starts available. Got 200 onion starts coming from House. I got my notification. They've been shipped. So that's something else I got to get out here and do today, is get my little bed prepped for my onions when they get here. But these are the ones that I started from seed. I'm gonna have a few that I'm gonna be able to plant. I'm gonna let these grow up for a little bit longer before I get them planted. And my onion starts should be here from House hopefully in a couple of days. You can see I didn't have a whole flat germinate here. and they're kind of sad, but they're growing, they're coming. I am trimming them. That's another reason why they look so small and stubby, is because I'm keeping them trimmed. When they get tall, like this one right here is kind of tall, then I come back and trim it because I want the energy to develop that little onion bulb versus the foliage right now. Monday is my fertilizing day, and I give them a little dose of food, and then I give them a little haircut. Right now in the greenhouse, I've got 2 flats of onions. I've got some chamomile that I grew from seed. I started these, I think it was August. And I'm gonna just grow these in the greenhouse. I planted some out in the garden, but I'm gonna try to grow these up in the greenhouse, and I'm gonna see which ones do better through the winter. I've got some germander that I dug up in a spot in the garden where I didn't want it anymore, and I've just got these potted up. I'm gonna find them a nice home in the garden somewhere. And this is a tea tree that is not cold hardy. Missed some waterings and it completely died back, but it's starting to come back out of it. But it is not cold hardy, so I brought it in the greenhouse. I've got a pomegranate here. This one is Texas pink, or Parfianco rather, and a pomegranate back there, which is Texas pink, that Destin at Texas Garden Guy gave me. These are little dwarf deutzias that was over by my garden shed, and I don't know if they're gonna make it. They were doing terrible over there. It was not a good spot, so I dug them up, potted them up, and I'm gonna try to salvage them. See if I can bring them back to life. This is a little Salvia gregii that I moved from a spot. I've got a couple of popcorn roses that I moved from a spot that I didn't want there anymore. So all of these are just plants that are going to find a new home, but I'm not quite sure where they're going yet. And they're going to be safe in the greenhouse this winter. These are all the plants that was on my porch. I went ahead and just brought them all to the greenhouse just so I know they'll make it through the winter. Got some little dwarf boxwoods that would have been fine, but I like to bring my terracotta pots into the greenhouse so that they don't, you know, freeze and crack. My mints, I've got apple mint, orange mint, peppermint, and chocolate mint. Got my asparagus ferns. These are my citrus trees. So I'm still waiting on my kumquat for that pot. That is my lime tree. Looking nice and healthy. This is my lemon tree. We harvested lemons off of this last week, and look at the blooms. Look at the little blooms. Oh my gosh. And they smell so yummy. That is my Cara Cara navel orange and my satsuma tree. And it won't be too much longer and we'll be harvesting these satsumas. I'm letting them get good and ripe. This is a big 25-gallon pot. I've got a couple of cabbages in there, 4 different cabbages. Trying a little experiment and seeing how well I can grow some winter veg in this greenhouse. We might transform this greenhouse into a growing house. So we might add some raised beds in here on each side and actually grow things in ground in here. Not sure exactly what we're gonna do. We're talking through a whole lot of different ideas and things as far as the greenhouse goes. But that's just been a thought, and I thought I would go ahead and try this year and see how well I can grow some things throughout the winter in here. So these are my moringa trees, and I went ahead and cut them back. They'll come back next year. They'll come right back up. It's warm enough in here that they will come back. So I've cut those back, and these are different little I think I've got some broccoli, some cabbages, some kales in here. And this was just little seedlings where I had grown them from seed. and I thought they weren't any good. I thought they were too leggy and they just weren't any good, and I just dumped the tray out in these 2 beds right here in my greenhouse, and they came up and they're doing great. So I'm leaving them and we're going to see how well they actually do. Then this is a bay tree that I had under one of the arbors in the garden. And then over here, these are my 2 olive trees that are growing and doing so well. And this is another big bay tree that I kept in the greenhouse all summer, and it's done fine. It's actually grown a whole lot. So this is what the greenhouse is looking like right now. Now I need to go prep that bed for our onion starts. That should be here in the next day or so. This bed is already pretty much prepped. I had cabbages and kale and collards planted in here, and the deer came and annihilated them. So I condensed everything that was left over to that other bed and just left this one empty for the onions to plant. I'm just gonna plant all onions in here. So it's pretty much ready. We laid down cardboard and hay in the pathways here, and then we've just got these rows. And we've had some cool season weeds and some stinking pigweed that came back up, and I just want to hit those a little bit here with my little schwo. This thing is awesome. So I'm just going to knock these weeds out, and then when my onions get here, we'll be ready to go. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today in the kitchen and in the garden, and I will see you all next week. God bless you.